Hey crafty friends, Kim from Stamping and Scrapping Imperfection. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm playing with the Cosette Scrapbooking Workshop from Close to My Heart. I'm making a double page layout and I'm experimenting with some DIY layout kits that I made. I love buying collection kits because you have all kinds of things that coordinate together, and these Close to My Heart workshop scrapbooking kits are amazing because they include some extra goodies. You get embellishments, you get die cuts, you get pattern paper, and you get your coordinating cardstock. So I love that. So I've gone ahead, when I got my kit, I divided it into 3 smaller kits and made individual layout kits. And I started out by spending an afternoon deciding what photos I want to use with this paper and what stories do I want to tell with these layouts. So I went ahead and printed my photos and matted them, and I already know what I want to journal with them, so I know the stories that these pages are going to tell. Then I pulled out some stuff from my stash. Like here you can see some extra embellishments. I also pulled out some of the die cuts from the kit that I thought I would use. And I also know what sketches I'm going to use for these 2 layouts. I actually am scrap lifting from Scrapbooking Cards today, their latest issue of the magazine, the spring issue of the magazine, spring 2023. And I was really inspired by Nathalie D'Souza's double page layout. So I went on Canva and I created my own version of the sketches for the layout that she shared in that magazine. And then I went through my stash and decided what else, based on the sketch, the photos, and the story, what else do I need to make this layout? And as I'm looking at those gorgeous stickers and the pretty papers, I know that I'm going to need more florals. So I did a few things to actually make it easier. Like the first thing I did was I organized my supplies. So I picked the papers that I wanted for these 2 layouts, and then I picked the papers for 4 other layouts, 2 double page layouts, and I pulled the papers and slid them into some of those big bags that I had left. Then I went through my stash. I found these thickers that I thought maybe I can use some of these phrases. The alphabet thickers actually are black glittery letters on one side and creamy glittery letters on another side. I don't end up using them for this particular layout, but I have them for the other ones if I want them. I punched out all the die cuts that came in the kit and I put them in some plastic bins to organize them. I added some pretty twine that I have in my stash. I pulled out some loose sequins that I got from Close to My Heart that I thought might coordinate well with this paper. And then I went through my stamp and thin cut sets and pulled out some stuff. So I love purchasing the coordinating stamp and thin cut set that comes with the kit. So I have that to work with. This is the Cosette Scrapbooking stamp and thin cut set. I always get the thin cuts because I love them, I use them, and then I don't regret not purchasing them. So I do splurge a little. But if I'm only buying 1 scrapbooking workshop kit and 1 coordinating stamp set, I'm doing pretty well in that month. So this will keep me busy for a good portion of the month, along with the stamp of the month set. So this one is the one I actually end up using. This is the Daisy Meadows set. I love this. I thought that the florals really coordinated really well. I also loved the little stamps that this set had in them. I love little filler stamps, so I'm thinking that I might potentially use those. A butterfly is always going to get used in my stash, and look at all the dies that come with this. So I'm pretty excited about it. I always love having those extra branches of leaves. I pulled out a bouquet stamp and thin cut set. It has a coordinating stencil set. I also pulled out my love, the Now and Forever stamp set. This is the stamp and thin cut set, mostly because I love that lace doily, that heart doily. Then I also have this Love Story Scrapbooking stamp and thin cut set that I grabbed when I saw it on sale because I thought the title opportunities worked really well there, and I love that journaling stamp and thin cut set as well. I'm organizing all of the stuff that I could potentially use with all three of my DIY layouts in a plastic bin I have, and everything fits nicely in there. I have lots of plastic bins to choose from. All the extra bits and any scraps I had left over from the other kits after I used them went back into one of the big Ziploc bags that I have left over from previous workshop kits that I've used up. So I'm just going to focus on this one today. So I've already got my plan. I know what layouts I'm going to use for the 2 pages. My photos are all printed and ready to go for both pages. They've even been matted. They're the size I need for the layouts I picked. I've got lots of extra stuff in case I didn't pull the things that I really need, and I love that I have some selections of things that aren't just on the sticker sheet and in the die cut kit. So having those other 2 sheets, and this particular envelope here, this has some extra stuff from a different kit that I got from the catalog launch. So I do have extra papers I can pull here, including some coordinating cardstocks that weren't included in the regular Cosette scrapbook layout kit. So that is another little extra thing I have in my stash. But once I'm done using these little DIY layout kits I made, I'm going to put all the extras back into that particular envelope or baggie and go from there. So one of the things that I will do, you'll see me do later, is I'm going to take all the stickers off that sticker sheet and put them on wax paper pieces and just kind of like really quickly cut around them so that I can like lay things out on my layouts as I'm doing it, because I haven't decided what stickers I'm going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of organize myself a little bit here. I usually use a tray to do this. I don't know why I didn't pull out my little tray here. I like to use a little tray for organizing my stuff because then I can move it if I need to clean up quickly for the day. So I'm kind of pulling out the die cuts. I have the pictures already. I love the little sentiment strips that were included. I've got a couple journaling boxes in different shapes. And then the enamel flowers and dots and the like black and wood veneer buttons. Those are all previous kits or embellishments I actually purchased from Close to My Heart that I deliberately have in my stash because I love them and they go on almost every page I made. So here I'm just pulling up the 2 layouts. I will have these on my blog at stampingimperfection.com because I realize you can't see them very well. So I'm using 3 photos here. So I pulled those sketches up on my phone so I could use them. What I did was I had photos from my mother-in-law, took a long time ago, that I wanted to kind of change a little bit because I wanted more focus on the people than all that background that, and I decided to take photos of them with my phone, and then I edited them on my phone. I cropped them down, and I thought the brightness was fine on these pictures. I use an app on my phone called Pick Frame Go, and I just use that, and it allows me to pick the size I want, and then I just plunk pictures in from my camera roll, and I create the size photos I need, and I print them on my Canon selfie printer with the Canon print app on my phone. It's so easy to do. I've had that Canon selfie for years, since my daughter was a freshman in high school, and she's got a PhD and she's been a college professor for a couple years now. So that's how old that Canon selfie is, and it's still working great. So I am going to go ahead and cut my papers now. I'm just deciding how wide do I want this pattern paper to be, because I also want to make a second layout with that same paper. Like, these papers need to cover two 12 by 12 layouts. So I'm going to use the black for my bases, and the vanilla is going to be cut in half, and it's going to be cut down a little bit because the sketches call for a little bit of border on one side. The vanilla goes all the way to the edge on the other side, and then there's a little border along the top. So the vanilla doesn't go all the way across the page. The pattern papers do. So I'm going to use that pretty mist blue paper with the leaves for the base. I'm going to put the vanilla for the top, and I'm going to use the paper bag looking paper for the center. So I'm going to start by gutting my bases. So I'm just cutting this down to, I believe I cut this down to 10.5, and or 11 inches. Actually, I think I cut it down to 11 inches. So I'm just taking out that center piece that will be used on one of my other double page layouts. And I'm going to do this to both papers. So I have my papers all cut down, and I pulled out my Versamat, and I'm just laying everything out to see how it goes. So I have a 4x12 piece of that mist paper I'm putting at the very bottom. There's no black showing anywhere around that. The vanilla is going to go on the top, and that's not quite where I'm going to place it. While I was cutting in my head, I was going to place that right in the center like that. I have a 2-inch strip of that paper bag paper. It's 2x12. I think it's 2x12. Yes, it looks like it's 2x12. I did take off the branding strip, and I'm going to use that just below that. I want that vanilla piece to go all the way over to the edge, and I believe I cut that at 11 by 6 or 11 by 5. I think it's 11 by 6. And I want it to go all the way over at the edge like that. So I did glue everything down. I used my corner rounder on the upper part of the vanilla paper, and I've got it all lined up. The only problem is when I gutted it, I wasn't thinking about the fact that I was moving that vanilla all the way over to the edge. So that just fits all the way over to the edge where the and it meets on the other side where the paper is gutted. So I want to do something to reinforce that. I could put a whole sheet of cardstock behind it, but I don't want to make it too much thicker. So I used a piece of scrap paper from my scrap bin. It's probably even white because I don't have a lot of cream paper, and I just glued it to both sides where of the seam where those two papers meet, and now it's nice and sturdy, and that works just fine. Nobody's going to see it. This is going to go into a page protector, and it'll have another pretty page behind it. So I'm taking the extra paper that I know I don't need for either one of these layouts, and I'm putting it all into my leftover Ziploc bag, or into a leftover zip bag, and you can see those are leftover from other workshop kits. I'm also going to go ahead and use this pretty mulberry paper to back my photos, and once I got that done, I went ahead and did some stamping and die cutting. So I used the Daisy Meadows Stampin' Thin Cut set because I thought the florals really worked well with the stickers here. And you can see I've taken all the stickers off the sheet with the exception of the border ones, and I put them on wax paper, and I kind of really quickly tore around the edge. That really helps me out because I can now plan them out. I don't use the powder. Some people use the powder. I've tried like putting it on my pant leg, but that actually is still too sticky. So I use the wax paper. It works best for me, and I love this idea. So here you can see all the pieces that I made, and I colored them in with my tricolor markers. I actually find coloring with alcohol markers super relaxing, so I take every opportunity I can to use stamp sets I have in my stash. So I did go ahead and I stamped the little stamps in this set to see which ones I wanted to use. I love those like open circle splatter ones, like that's one stamp, and then the two leaves I'm going to put together on one clear block. I don't think I'm going to use the flower, but I'm going to keep it out. I love those little fillers. Here you can see I have a sheet that I made when I first got my markers so I could see what colors they are, and I went ahead and pulled out coordinating colors that went with that I thought coordinated well enough with my papers to make it work. There's a coral blend, there is a purple blend, and a deep rose blend that I used. There wasn't a good green, so I did a whole bunch of experimenting with the greens and the yellows and the browns in the kit, and even some grays, to see if I could make the green work. I never quite got it, but it worked well enough. I've got a variety of greens that I'm going to be using. I die cut everything out, and now I'm ready to put it all together. Like, I love making some of my own die cuts with my stamps and thin cuts. I feel like I get so much for my money when I not only use my stamps and thin cuts for card making, but also for doing exactly this, like making things to coordinate with scrapbook layout. So this is, to me, always the most fun part of scrapbooking, and that's what Vicki Boutin always calls putting the jewelry on. So I'm mixing the stickers that I've pulled out from the kit with some of the thin cuts that I've made, and you notice that I'm starting with the larger pieces first, and then adding the medium pieces, and then the smaller bits go last. So I'm just kind of building something that I think looks pleasing. And what I loved about Nathalie's layout and scrapbooking cards today was that she actually had this whole like spray of florals going up one side of this, and I loved it. I love using a lot of florals on my layouts. This will be way too much for a lot of people, but this is my favorite kind of layout. So I'm just adding in, I'm trying to get all of those colors. I've got mist circles up there. I've got some of that pretty light lavender color, and I've got a lot of green in there. I've got some of the rosy pink color. So I've got a little bit of everything in there except for the yellow. I don't have a lot of yellow in there. There's a little yellow in the sticker, but not so much, and in that little die cut floral with the black background, the tab that I used above the photo, but I'm really liking this so far. I do find having these reverse tweezers to be very useful when I start adding things in, and you can see I've got it all together, and I'm going to go ahead now and glue it all together. And I'll add some foam bits behind some pieces so that I have some dimension on my layout. Right now I'm just kind of experimenting with the titles. I really like both of these titles, but I'm not sure whether I want it on this page or the other page. I'll put the title on one page and the journaling on another. One option for journaling I have is this pretty vanilla banner with the lines on it, one of the die cuts that came in the kit. I felt like this kit had a lot of title opportunities, and it has a lot of journaling opportunities. So I'm going to go ahead and glue everything down. And before I move on, I just want to add a little bit of stamping. I love adding stamping directly onto my background paper because I feel like I have the stamping, and then I have some die cuts glued onto the paper, and then I have some of the die cuts and embellishments popped up with foam. So I've got lots of dimension, and I think stamping on my background piece really adds to that dimension. Now I stamped that stuff in mist, which matches perfectly with that leaf background paper. So I'm bringing that blue up into the top of my layout, and I just love the way this folds around that photo. It sort of hugs the photo. I love it. And I'm adding a few leftover enamel dots and hearts that I had from a previous kit. So I'm just kind of using those just to use them up. It'll give me an excuse to buy another set of these. I really like enamel dots. And I'm still thinking about this. I kind of like the way that looks, but I haven't decided. So I'm going to build the other page, and I'm going to decide on that title and the journaling box. So I used the same process for the second page, with the exception of I used one mulberry mat for both of the photos, and then I put the floral hug on the right hand side. I really wanted to use that frame that came in the die cuts, so you can see I added a piece of one of the yellow journaling tags behind the frame. I decided to put the title piece underneath the photo on the left hand side, and I did the same kind of thing on the second page layout. I included the stamping in the mist around the photos. I've got the black floral tab above the photos, and then I just used a few stickers and die cuts that came in the kit along with lots that I made. You can see I've added my journaling here with the date and the location and the event that's being celebrated here. And I'm super happy with the layout. Thank you so much for watching, friends. I would love it if you give this video a thumbs up, and I'll put the links to everything below. I'd love it if you check out my shop and subscribe to my channel while you're here, and click that bell to get notifications every time I upload a new video. Have a wonderful day and happy memory making.